cell phones, please. We'll let Coach make an opening statement. Open up for questions.
How we doing? Ready? Military Appreciation Day this Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium, and certainly appreciate all they do for us and the freedoms that we have. Steve Fink reminded me it was Veterans Day Sunday, so I appreciate all the veterans and what they've provided for us and the country that we have. November 11th, 1918, end of World War I, just in case you were wondering, and that signifies that day. Also, Senior Day at Williams-Brice Stadium, 7:30 kick against Chattanooga, honoring 20 seniors that'll walk on Senior Day, and appreciate them. A small gesture of thank you for what they've done. This certainly is not goodbye, but certainly just saying thank you for what they've done for our program. We have 8 of them that have already graduated, 9 of them that will graduate in December, so 17 of the 20 will have completed their eligibility while they have their diplomas in their hand. And that's pretty impressive, and the other 3 are all on track to graduate in May. So really appreciate them and appreciate what they've done for our program. And they meant an awful lot, especially in a coaching change and transition, and helping build the foundation of our program as we move forward, and we certainly appreciate that. Injury report, Jalen Dickerson has a hamstring. He'll be out this week, and Aaron Sterling probably will not be back this week with the knee. We're still kind of work through that and see what we need to do as we move forward. As far as that's concerned, I'll open up for any questions.
Raise your hand and get a microphone to you, David.
Will, in the RPO package, is that strictly up to Jake to decide on the run or the pass? Or do you guys call in plays and say, well, we're looking for the pass here, or is it always his decision?
It's his decision. I think that there are certain sequences that we will go into a game that we may give him some guidelines on situationally whether we want to hand the ball off or throw the ball. But the other day it was all based on the look, and we felt good about the decisions that were made. Obviously, we didn't get the results we wanted, and that's unfortunate. But we'll go back and continue to look at the situation. What do we need to do better to put our guys in better situation to be successful?
Jeff.
Will, have you gotten a chance to look at that third quarter fumble that was not reviewed, and what did you see, and how'd that impact?
Yeah, once forward progress is stopped, it is now not a reviewable play. And I knew that on the field, number one. Number two, the whistle had blown. Number three, no official had reacted to the ball being recovered by J.C. Horn or stripped by J.C. Horn and returned down the sideline. So number one, the play can't be reviewed once forward progress is stopped. Forward progress has been stopped because the whistle had blown. And I had a communication with the official on the sideline. I said, did forward progress stop? And he said, the whistle was blown, Coach. And I said, well, are they looking at it upstairs? He said, you know the rule. And I do know the rule. So forward progress has stopped. It is no longer a reviewable play. And so that's the situation.
Left
I'm guessing you're probably not wired to think this way, but have you thought about what could have been with DJ and Bryson had those guys been able to be on the field for more than just a 3-game stretch for these last couple seasons?
Sure. I mean, those guys are both really good players, and just thinking in terms of last night, kind of our seniors, and Bryson's a guy that's been really special to me. He's a guy that we've known for a long time, Cedar Grove High School, had a very difficult junior season, supposed to be a senior season last year with the labrum and having the surgery, and then coming back this year and really playing at a high level, playing extremely hard, very productive, and playing at a high level, and to have the ankle injury, and hopefully we'll get him back for the bowl game. But appreciate everything he's done for us. But he and DJ are both guys that we were, in training camp, looked really good on the edges, quite frankly, and being stronger on the edges with the both of those guys playing at a high level. Again, wish we'd had Bryson, down this stretch here would have helped us.
Well, what have been the main reasons why you guys have had so much trouble tackling this season?
I think that we're a little thin at the safety position. We're a little banged up at the safety position. We haven't been as productive at the linebacker position as we'd like to be, just quite frankly. And I think those two positions have really hurt us as far as explosive plays. And I think you go back to last year, Chris Lamons and DJ Smith were both very good tacklers. And they when the ball did hit the second level, in a lot of those situations, the ball was on the ground from a standpoint of a 6 or 8 yard gain as opposed to a 20-yard gain in an explosive run. I think things have kind of snowballed on us. We got wore down in the fourth quarter. in our last ball game and struggled to answer, in those situations. So I think there's a combination of things that have affected the tackling, and obviously we continue to work on it.
Well, in the NFL and in college for about 10 years, people have been saying, tackling's kind of a lost art, and that maybe limited practice time is a big reason for that. What about other things like, are afraid of targeting calls, emphasizing turnovers a lot? What about all that stuff?
Gene, I think that has a small part to do with it. I wouldn't say that it has a huge part to do with it. I think that targeting is an issue, and we talk to our players all the time about lowering their targets, not leading with the crown of the helmet. Those are all things that we talk to our players constantly about, lowering their targets. I mean, those are things we're constantly talking about. We do sometimes make mistakes as far as trying to create a turnover instead of securing the tackle. And that's a judgment, and a hard judgment when a 220-pounder is running at you, and you got to be able to get the guy on the ground, bottom line, and that's the most important thing. So I do think those factors have a small portion of it, but I think, again, tackling a lot too is want to. You got to really want to throw your face in the fan and enjoy it, and those are, got to continue to recruit to that.
Donnell Stanley is technically a junior now, but he's walking. Has he communicated to you that this is his last year?
Yeah, no, I should have said that, Josh. I apologize. So Nick Harvey is not going to walk, and we're trying to apply for another season through our compliance office. We have not heard on that yet as we speak. Eldridge Thompson is going to walk. His family had already planned to be here, but we are applying for an extra year for Eldridge. And Donnell Stanley family was going to be here anyways. He has planned to walk and has not made a decision, and we'll make that decision after our bowl game. And he and I communicated that in previous time in our open date. And I think those are the only three guys that we had talked about that you might have questions on. Mm-hmm.
Coach, how would you assess your offensive line's ability to pick up the blitz this year, and how do you kind of simulate that in practice and Jake having to throw with guys in his face when he can't really get hit?
I think we've done a really nice job. I think that getting a hat on a hat, very seldom. I think the Ole Miss game on the last third down of the game, we had a free runner, and that was on the running back, not the offensive line. We're not having free runners at the quarterback. I think there's a lot of facets to it. Number one, we do a really nice job of changing our protections. Where's the turn, having multiple protections to help us where people can't get a beat on where they can bring four and create an overload for you. I think, from a fundamental technique, Eric does a really good job of teaching our guys fundamentals and techniques of pass sets, of understanding if it's a tight five technique, you're probably getting edge pressure. If it's a wide technique, you're getting pressure from the other side. If the nose is working across the center, you're probably working, we need to redirect the protection back the other way. I mean, he does a good job of teaching the little things tips that you can get pre-snap and post-snap about protection and protecting the quarterback. I think Jake's got a very good understanding of getting rid of the football. He's got a very good pocket presence of when he feels pressure and where he is protected and where he's not protected. So, again, it's hard to really just say the offensive line. Our tight ends have done a nice job in protection. Our backs have done a nice job in protection for the most part. It's a entire effort. Our receivers know when they're hot and when they need to break the routes off. So it's an effort through our entire offensive staff. I think you go back to mixing the protections with Brian as far as the play calls are concerned, and then the fundamental day-to-day with Eric and the teaching, and you got to credit our players of executing on Saturday. But I think we've done a nice job of protection.
One of the seniors that'll be honored Saturday is probably got the most experience is Zack Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
What has he meant to the program, and how have you seen him progress this year?
Just a steady performer. You know what you're going to get every day on the practice field. Tough, hard-nosed, physical. He's been a really good football player for us here at South Carolina. But a guy that, the consistency that Zack brings every day to me is what impresses you, as far as just a guy that comes to work every day with his lunch pail and goes to work. And we're going to miss Zack. He's a good football player. We're going to miss, that's one thing we're missing. The chunk of offensive lineman. Malik Young has played really well for us this year. Has done a really nice job. Blake Camper, I can't say enough about Blake last year when Zack got hurt. and he came in and played extremely well. Blake really dedicated himself a year ago to the weight room, changed his body, and has played really good for us this year. Both right tackle, he comes in against Ole Miss and plays really well for us at left tackle. Donnell Stanley, we talked about, hoping to get Donnell back depending on what his, grade will be. He will graduate in December. So he's one of the 9 that'll graduate in December. But all those guys, Kristen Pellage is, from a playing standpoint, hasn't panned out as much as he would have liked to. He's been a model citizen in our program. So again, all those guys, we're gonna miss all those guys. Dennis Daly from Ridgeview High School right here in Columbia, went to Georgia Military, and has been a fantastic left tackle for us. Has played really well for us this season. So we're gonna miss some of those guys.
I know you can't talk about these guys specifically yet, but a couple of your recruits have said they're signing financial aid agreements. Is that true this year?
Yeah, and you can't. I mean, you've been able to do that previous years, so that is true. And like you said, I can't comment publicly about it.
How many guys are you signing to those?
I don't know that I can. I don't know if I can't comment. I'd rather not comment on anything.
All right, and I think this is the first time that's happened for you here with players signing these financial aid agreements early. Is that a change in philosophy?
No, different situations pop up for reasons that I can't really go into that kind of presented itself. Probably the best way I could say.
Over to Rick on that.
Well, you were mentioning Zach, and I know you always preach whether you win or lose, got to put it behind you, move ahead. But he said the manner in which you lost on Saturday, it gnaws at him. But it's not that he's dwelling on it, but that is helping him to focus on the little things that didn't happen and to work on that in practice. Is that something you emphasize with your kids? Is it easier to get their attention when they suffer a disappointing, heartbreaking loss like that?
I think there's always teachable moments, and there's certainly easier to teach, unfortunately, after a very difficult loss. We've been really good in one-score games. And our guys understand that. They understand that those games are going to come down to probably 3 or 4 or 5 plays in the fourth quarter that determine the game. And our guys understand that. We talk about it all the time, and we've been on the winning side of that a bunch. So they understand those 3 or 4 or 5 plays. And the interesting part of that, you never know when they're going to come. We've got to come out on top in those situations. That's the bottom line. And our guys understand that. And we've been really good in one-score games for a reason. They understand when that crunch time comes, as coaches, we got to put our guys in positions to be successful, and players got to execute in those times. And so I think that's most of anything what he's referring to.
I got a couple questions. The first one is, with those financial aid papers, does that change the way you can interact with recruits at all in terms of phone calls, that kind of thing? That
does. I believe it's unlimited phone calls. Right now it's so much easier to communicate because of social media and texting and whatnot. You can do that unlimited as well. And then from a visit standpoint, I believe you can do your visit. You're now like in contact period.
And the second question is, you mentioned Jay Urich was a guy who was kind of an emergency special teams guy based on all the attrition. I guess, what was the conversation like when you go to a quarterback and kind of ask him to do that? And what about Jay sort of made him a candidate for that kind of role?
Well, Jay's a really good athlete. He's a big athlete and is a bigger-bodied guy and a guy that runs extremely well. Certainly can play in space, and that was just a question that we had. We were short some guys, and a guy that's certainly willing to participate and said, absolutely, I want to get on the field. I want to help the team any way I can. So we got a bunch of guys on our team like that.
Coach, I know you have a big game this week, but of course I got to ask you about Hammond and your son playing for a state championship.
Mm-hmm.
Won't probably be able to get to this game unlike last year.
Yeah.
Just your thoughts, obviously, as a father, and then being able to see him be able to compete for another state championship.
Well, Eric Kimry does a fantastic job at Hammond, and they got a really good football team and a bunch of good players and an outstanding staff. Really proud of Jackson and the year he's had, but he's got a lot of weapons to throw to. I guess I can't comment on them by name. But since I'm a dad, I probably can, huh? I don't know. But hey, they got a really talented bunch in First Baptist, and Johnny Waters, the head coach there, does an outstanding job. And they had a really tight ball game down in Charleston. It was a 7-point game, and certainly it'll be another close ball game.
What's the toughest challenge, though, as a coach? Because
it's, I'm a dad. I'm not a coach. I'm probably the easiest guy Coach Kimmery's got out there to deal with. I understand the things he goes through, and I just enjoy watching my son play.
Bill?
Have you communicated with DJ Durkin since he left Maryland? And if you were to have an opening on your staff that would fit him, would you consider him?
Well, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, but yeah, he's a very good friend. He's been through a very difficult time. It's a tragic situation for everybody involved, starting with the McNair family and what they've been through. So it's just a tragic situation. I don't know what another way to say it, but I don't deal in hypotheticals.
With this senior class, has it been helpful to have guys who sort of know what it's like to be on a losing team and been able to translate that and kind of spur guys on? And does a program lose a little bit of something when there are guys who don't really have that kind of experience?
I don't know that losing does a lot for you. At the end of the day, guys that want to have a championship expectation, that's what we have in this program. You got a coaching staff that's been a part of 10 national championships and close to 30 conference championships. We know what it takes to win and be successful. And our expectation is higher than anyone else around here. I can assure you of that.
Questions for Coach? Josh?
Does the every week is a season thing get tested, particularly this week when you have a lower level opponent and your rival coming up at the end of the year?
I don't think so, Josh. I think our guys are very mature to understand that it's about our preparation this week. I really always challenge our guys, and to me, each week as a player, as a coach, you make a decision about your effort, about your energy, about your effort, your toughness, your discipline, each week to bring it on Tuesday. And I thought we had a very good practice, a good tempo of practice today. We need to clean some details up of what we're doing today, but that's always with Tuesday with the new installation of different things we're going to see on offense, defense, and special teams. Clean it up again on Wednesday, and then obviously have a really good, clean Thursday practice and a good walkthrough on Friday. But our guys understand it's not really about the opponent, and regardless of who we play, it's about us and our preparation and how we go about our business, because that's really our mindset each week. We can't control who we play or where we play or what time. At the end of the day, we can control what we do, and that's our preparation. And that's every week for us.
If the game goes the right way Saturday, do you expect Joyner to play and the other freshmen that haven't gotten a lot of time yet?
Again, if the situation presents itself, number one, can they help us win the game? Number two, if there's an opportunity that presents itself, that whether it's to carry on or anyone else that's a young player, certainly we'd like to have them have opportunity to play. Absolutely.
Coach, you mentioned Sunday you'd like to see Josh Belk back on the field this weekend or in sometime this season. Just how's he doing in terms of learning the defense and in his conditioning?
Well, Josh is extremely bright, and he's done a nice job. He practiced today, and I thought practiced well. He practiced last week for us, but we plan on playing him Saturday.
What has this Chattanooga team done to sort of generate the kind of pass rush they've had?
Well, they're very talented up front. Isaiah Mack, is number 8, is a really talented inside player. All three of their big guys inside present some issues for you. They're all 300+. They move extremely well, but they do a nice job in their 4-down stuff, and they have a good 3-down package on 3rd down that they work. But he's one guy that jumps out on tape, and Kareem Moore, number 2, is a transfer from Arizona State that was a freshman All-American at Arizona State from Chattanooga, and is a really talented corner.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you.